Today is 9th of January 2013. My name is Wendy, and listening to is for Ming-Ai, London Institute British Chinese Workforce Heritage Project. Let's begin with what is your name, please?
Yeah, sure. Jeremy Pang, Jeremy Wing Ho Pang, Jeremy Pang. My Chinese name is Pang Wing Ho.
Can you tell me a bit about your family, please?
I've got two sisters. My mum and dad. Dad's passed away, but they used to live in Hong Kong. Actually moved over here, I guess, in the 50s. Sort of their families trickled over from Hong Kong. So my mum's side, they're actually, I guess, their ancestral village is in Canton. And my father's side are from Jiangxi province in China originally. I guess my Chinese culture is probably closer to the Cantonese side than the middle of China.
You said you have two sisters. Are you the youngest?
Absolutely, yeah, I'm the youngest. The youngest and most spoilt.
Could you tell me about your education background, please?
Yeah, it's a mixed education. I was in a state school in the UK as a first school. Then we moved to Singapore for 2 years when I was 10 years old. So 10 years till 12 years I was in an international school, which is a very relaxed teaching in many ways, very cultural. And then I came back here, and when I came back here I was at a private school in the UK.
You graduated from?
Bath University. So I did a biochemical engineering and with Spanish degree. Masters in biochemical engineering, which has nothing to do with what I do today.
Tell me about your experience in working.
When I came out of university, or actually throughout the years of university, I had no real interest in what I was studying. I got a good degree, which is always good for I guess most Chinese parents want. But after that, my parents were quite flexible in a sense, so they allowed me to do whatever I wanted to do. So I decided that engineering wasn't the route for me, so I went into a graduate scheme at Ladbrokes, which is one of the biggest betting companies in the UK. And I chose that graduate scheme because it was very, very fast-paced. So essentially it was 6 months where they dotted the graduates around different parts of the business. Every 2 or 3 months we changed to a different project that was focused on a different part of the business. So whether it was online, retail marketing or trading, etc. Very quickly I kind of found my feet in retail marketing. So I then took a job with Ladbrokes as one of their retail product marketing managers. So it was a very strange product, well, simple product, but not something that you could really get that excited by. So I was marketing essentially their roulette machines. Every single Ladbrokes or betting shop in the country will have a maximum of 4 machines. That we've had certain restrictions on how to market, and you'd have to work out ways and means of getting more people in to play more on the machines. I got very quickly sort of not bored, but realised that it wasn't quite the industry I wanted to be in. Betting's not really my type of thing, so you have to be passionate about what you do. So anyway, I moved on, essentially took a proactive year out. I went to the Culinary Institute in Marylebone Lane, the Cordon Bleu, so French cuisine. So I did 3.5 months teaching or learning how to cook French cuisine. For me, that 3.5 months was all about discipline in the kitchen, because I've always been really interested in food, but always been able to cook, being creative, but being quite a messy cook. So 3.5 months for the French guys to whip me into shape, and that was what I was there for. So, and then during that time I was working in different restaurants, actually an Italian restaurant mainly on front of house, so as a waiter. So I was learning about the kitchen and working as a waiter at the same time. Then I moved on and had a few months out in Asia and did some travel journalism. So I was out in Hong Kong and Thailand for about 4 or 5 months, writing a travel guide, which in the end never got published because the recession hit. So, but it was interesting. So that for me was all about I mean, we had 20,000 Hong Kong dollars, which is about, at that time, about £1,200 between two of us to work out how to get to all the 5, 6 and 7-star hotels and restaurants and spas. So the biggest part was negotiating freebies. If we could get a free stay in a hotel, perfect. And then, talking to the marketing managers and trying things out and then writing. I very quickly realized that writing wasn't quite my thing. So when I came back to the UK, I had to work out which way I was going to go. Would it be into the catering trade or back into marketing? Now, at that point, I was really struggling for cash, so the easiest way for me to earn was to go back into the marketing corporate world. So I ended up working for Samsung. Most people know, large Korean electronics companies. I spent, I think, about 6 months working for Samsung. I ended up working in strategic alliances, what they call building relationships with other big companies. At that time, it was as many non-financial mutual benefit ties as possible. So it was the likes of building relationships between Samsung and Microsoft, or Samsung and Ferrari, IKEA, companies like that. And then my father passed away and I had to go out to Hong Kong, so I went out for a few months. When I came back here, I was on holiday for a week with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and trying to figure out what to do, and that's how I started School of Wok.
Why you chose the name of your business?
I'm a big believer in, I know how I like to work, and that is that if I'm too stressed, I don't get the best out of what I do. So the name came about from me sitting in a friend's house with a few glasses of wine, and there's about 8 of us around the table, and I said, guys, this is what I want to do. I need a name. And after about 4 or 5 glasses of wine, a few names were coming out, and I thought, you know what, this is brilliant. So one of my friends actually came up with it, and I said, I just thought it was fantastic. I thought that's exactly what we need, because for me, coming from a limited marketing career beforehand, all about building a brand and a name that can work in the long run. So I didn't want to call my cookery school, Jeremy Pang's cookery school. I just don't think that works. And the whole point about me starting my own business is that I enjoy cooking, but B, I also really enjoy business, or the business side of things. I needed a name that was relaxed yet professional, and it definitely has a relaxed feel because essentially we deal with the Western trade. A lot of Westerners know the film School of Rock. So School of Wok being a pun on that makes it automatically relaxed. So people, even before coming here, have sensed a feeling of fun, which is essentially what we sell here. A fun, relaxed environment to come and learn how to cook. Yeah.
Can you tell us what year did you open the School of Wok?
I started School of Wok in 2009, so it's been 3 years now, September 2009. I started working on School of Wok in July 2009, so it took 3 months to get to a point where I was happy to launch, and it was a very soft launch. I started the school teaching people in their own homes. And it was purely teaching Chinese food in people's own homes. I mean, it's grown since then, but the whole reason for starting the business how I did was that I didn't have excessive amounts of money, so I needed to keep my capital expense to the lowest it could possibly be. And then really it was just operational costs and my time, which it took a lot of my time. But obviously at the beginning you've only got 1 or 2 customers every week here or there, but now we're bringing maybe 50 to 100 customers in a week, so it's very different now. 3 years.
Can you tell us about what it's like running a School of Wok day-to-day basis?
It's been 6 months since we've been in this premises here in Covent Garden, so it's been a huge learning curve. I guess at the beginning of the business, 3 years ago, my day-to-day was I could go to maybe 4 supermarkets. Sometimes you don't get what you need in one supermarket, you go to the next. So I would have to go to maybe an Indian supermarket, a Western supermarket, and then 2 or 3 Chinese supermarkets to get everything. run around, then maybe drive to the other side of London or even outside of London, do a 3-hour cookery class and then come home, and that would be my day. Now it's slightly different. So in the premises at the moment, we have a cookery school manager, Stefan, who's very good. He runs the day-to-day ins and outs. So we would come in at 10 o'clock in the morning. Most of our classes run in the evenings, so 7 o'clock or till 10, something like that. And then weekends, Saturdays are very busy. So we have our certain suppliers, so meat suppliers, veg suppliers, they'll come in with their deliveries. We have assistants who help clean and make sure everything's ready for the lesson. If we have lessons to do, then obviously we'll set up for the lessons and run the classes. People come in, we offer them a glass of wine, and then we start the class, and then you finish, and then you clean down, and then you start again. So if you have two lessons in a day or 3 lessons a day, it's literally non-stop, one after the next, and we might start at 10 and then finish at 10, 11 o'clock at night, most nights. So it's tough work. So really, if we don't have to start too early, we won't, because we know we don't finish until late. Our offering or our products are all about customer entertainment, right? So people want to be entertained after work and when they're not working, obviously not during work hours. But other times during the week as well, we have corporate events, and those will take up sometimes the daytime, sometimes filming or media. So my job day to day is slightly different to Stefan's job here at the school. 2 or 3 days out of the week I will be helping Stefan out here in the school, but not so much focusing on doing all the ordering and all that. That's his job now. My job is very much marketing, PR, media, building relationships with other big companies, which essentially it's a piecing together what I've learned in my other jobs, because I've tried to take all of the good out of what I've learned and put it into my own business, I guess. Yeah.
Would you like to tell us about your School of Wok courses?
Yeah, sure. The courses are structured very simply. We do a 1-hour course, a 3-hour course, or a full day. They're all 100% hands-on. We start at £45, £95, £160. And we've just put on 2 5-day courses as well for those who want to get more out of our classes and more detail and more interactive learning. So in a 1-hour course, you essentially do 2 dishes, quick cooking dishes like wok cooking or sort of Malaysian street food, things like that, like satay or a nasi goreng, and you focus purely on the cooking technique. In our 3-hour courses, it's 100% hands-on, whereby the customer walks in, we have all the ingredients set out and ready, but we try to do as little as possible. So our motto is, we do all the talking, you do all the cooking. Yeah. So the customers come in, they do all the chopping, absolutely everything. The last 15-20 minutes is when they're cooking, depending on the class. And then our 1-day class, our full-day class at the moment is called Flavors. We either do Flavors of China or Flavors of Vietnam. And those classes are essentially a gourmet walking tour of Chinatown in the morning, followed by a light lunch in one of the cafes, and then come back here, 3-hour cookery class, and sit down, have your feast and a glass of wine. Yeah. Then the 5-day courses, they are very much focused on either a dim sum masterclass or a 5-day basic techniques course in Pan-Asian cuisine. Yeah. They're quite interesting, so hopefully people will book on. That's the idea.
How do you attract your students?
There's different ways. Internet is the biggest part of our way to reach out to a customer. I always say there's essentially 3 parts to our business. There's the retail or walk-in customers, which I'm in charge of. There's the corporate event side, which my business partner Nev, he's in charge of, and the bigger events and parties and things like that. And then the last one's consultancy, which we kind of share around. So the consultancy is very new, and that comes off the back of us really being here with the presence. So having the space and the premises really helps with marketing. It kind of markets itself. Because anyone walking past here will see it and look, ooh, what's that? It's something different, right? So that's the first, is obviously having a retail presence. The second, actually is probably most important, is online marketing. So online marketing, I think everyone in this modern day and age is very lucky that Google is around. If anyone goes onto the internet, they know that the first port of call to find anything is Google. So there's a big part of our time and effort and money plugged into being the number one search term for cookery classes in London, or Chinese cookery, or whatever it is, Indian, Chinese, Southeast Asian, Japanese. We're really trying to push being one of the best cookery schools in the UK, let alone London. And that's all about online marketing, really.
How many staff do you have here?
Myself, my business partner, that's 2, Stefan, 3, 2 assistants, and then Adrian, our bookings manager. So 6 employees of the business. Yeah. And then we have 3 or 4 freelance chefs who help us with certain classes. But I guess they're not really counted as staff. Yeah.
As I can see, your business is quite successful. Is there very high competitiveness with others?
At the moment, no. I think we've probably got in the country one competitor from an Oriental and Asian cookery school point of view. In central London, we are the only Oriental and Asian cookery school. I guess we're very niche, so competition's never really going to be that big. If it starts picking up, I think could possibly be quite good for us, because essentially we're 2 or 3 years ahead of anyone else who's going to start now. And it's a very steep learning curve, so we've already had that steep learning curve, and now we're really trying to just continue to maintain our positive energy, I guess, and making sure that we're always on top of what we're doing and always learning. Continuous development is really important, so if we're always learning, then we're always going to be ahead of the game. And so competition doesn't scare me, it makes me excited. Yeah.
What about your students? What sort of people that come to attend your classes?
95% are people who are home cooks, want to improve their home cooking. I would say out of those people, almost every single one of them are here more for enjoyment than giving themselves any stress. Yeah, so I always say that our business don't sell cookery classes, we sell fun. And if people are enjoying themselves, they're very likely to learn. So whatever happens, if we know what we're talking about, then we portray it in a fun and interactive way, then people will always pick up what we're trying to teach them.
Do they keep coming back, your students?
We're starting to get a lot of return customers, yeah. This year is very focused on bringing back existing customers rather than spending too much time and money on just new customers, because that costs a lot. So existing customers, we have about 2,000 people on our newsletter database, and that's what we're trying to really push now. Try and bring them back. And that's why we have that sort of, I guess, more versatile offering, not just Chinese cuisine, but Chinese, Southeast Asian, Indian and Japanese. So it gives customers the option to learn something new all the time.
Well, what about with your staff? How are you managing your staff? Is there any training for them?
There is. There's limited time for training when there's so much to do. Before Stefan started, myself and Nev spent 10 days with him and a couple of our freelance chefs. So Stefan is actually English. He cooks 80% of the Chinese food just as good as I will. And that's taken 10 days of training and obviously learning on the job and working with me. So, we also work together, the three of us, myself, Nev and Stefan, we work together on consultancy and experimenting on foods, and when we have our quiet times, we try new things out. So it's almost like this sort of, I guess, staff management is, I run it in a very modern way, and that is that, actually my brother-in-law was saying to me recently, he's reading a book, there's a few things, motivation and purpose and a sense of responsibility. If your staff or anyone working in a job has that, they're more likely to really work for the company and be happy in their job. So Stefan, for example, he gets 5 days a year to go out and learn anything he wants to learn anywhere in the world. Depending on what he's going to learn, he has to bring something back to the business. So if he goes out to Hong Kong for 5 days, we'll pay him for a certain amount of expenses to learn and go and train. So I think he quite likes that sort of sense of autonomy where he can make decisions, but we also, when we have our meetings, we make decisions together. And it's not so much about pointing a finger. His responsibility is the school. If I leave it in a mess, he can tell me off. Okay, and vice versa. So try to do that at all levels of staff. So our assistants have the same thing. If they're responsible for one thing, even if it's the boss that's in and we don't abide by those rules that they have set, then we can have a discussion about it. So it's very relaxed and a modern way of doing it. Not saying that it's the best, you always come across problems, but if everyone's happy to speak about them and talk through them and then solve the problem, then I find that's the most efficient way.
How did you two come together?
Nev, my business partner, joined me in 2010. So 2010, I was obviously still teaching people in their own homes. Nev's background is very much corporate events, or he used to run an events management company out in the southwest of England. So he then sold that and he moved on to, he also owns a pub in Bath. And he was looking to start his own cookery school in Bath. We met through essentially family. So my brother-in-law is Nev's, well, it's funny, Nev's wife is best friends to my brother-in-law's sister. Okay, so you know, friends of friends. And so myself and Nev started off and we actually built another company together called Cookery Coach, where we were doing the same thing as School of Wok, teaching people cooking in their own homes, but for Western cuisine. So Nev's trained in Western cuisine, and we thought we'd expand that way. We still got Cookery Coach, but now we've kind of put that on the back bench because we've decided that using School of Wok as a brand in London is a much more niche way to push into the market, and we wouldn't have as much competition. So Nev and I have been working together for almost 3 years now, like 2.5 years. We work very well, but we really kind of tested our friendship beforehand, and we stayed as sole traders all the way up until this year, just so that we could work out how we work together. Now we're business partners full on, and we run the limited company here. So that's Nev. We have a very good relationship. We just have a lot of fun. Stefan was introduced to us through one of our freelance chefs. Stefan came from Leith's Cookery School, so he did a year there. We were interviewing for the role. He came along to my house for an interview, 9 o'clock in the morning. Our interview process, being a cookery school, it's very simple. We get people to make food for us. And if the food's any good and they know how to, and they have a charismatic way of teaching it, then after that it's just an informal discussion, really. So he's had a great CV anyway. You know, he's come from a very corporate background as well. So he wasn't actually a chef. He worked for Dell, Pfizer, companies like that, project management. He decided at the age of 33 that he wanted to move into food. So he did the year culinary diploma, and then now he did a bit of freelance work here or there, but now he's working for us. And I think the key to us all really getting on well together is that essentially we're all career changers. We have no qualms about being chefs. We are not in any way strict with our customers. We just like having fun with food. And we're very passionate about the food industry. So that's why at the moment, touch wood, we're all working really nicely together. So, yeah.
So what do you think about from the beginning that you opened School of Wok in 2009 and now? What do you think the difference?
It's a real business now. 2009 to 2011, School of Wok, I was growing it. I didn't really know where it was going to go. I thought at one point I thought School of Wok would be something that could be franchisable maybe. But then at another point during those 2 years I thought, well, maybe I'll just carry on doing this and earn I know, 15 grand a year, but that doesn't get you anywhere in London. So now it's a real business in many ways. It's a serious business, and the focus has to be a lot more structured now. In the first 2 or 3 years, I think with any business, it's very much a big experiment. It's almost like a big game that you're trying to make right decisions. You don't know what they are, and it's one big marketing experiment. But now, even now we still have that mentality in a way, but you have to be a lot more structured because there's a lot of overheads. It costs us a lot of money to run this place. So and to make even one penny, it will take years.
Was there any special person or event that had an impact on your career, or that stand out in your memory?
Yeah, I mean, if I was to pick anyone, it would be my father. Yeah, he was. He had an amazing ability to talk to anyone and befriend them. So with my career now, that's essentially a big part of my job, and especially doing media stuff. It's being able to talk to people and really get to know them very quickly. The other thing is that my father had a really good business sense. He for some reason was able to piece together many big companies and projects, and essentially that's how he became a consultant in his own role. So yeah, he really inspired me to do what I do. When he was alive, he was baffled as to why I wasn't in the catering industry. He really wished that after I did my culinary diploma that I would have followed suit and actually done something with it. I think it's unfortunate in some ways that he hasn't seen what I'm doing now, but I guess fortunate in many other ways that we've hit a lot of luck with being in the right place at the right time to get to where we are now. And I don't think, although I'm not superstitious, I don't think it's just hard work. So my dad had inspired me in many ways. And I think that the key thing was communication. If people think I'm good, you see what he used to do. It was different. He was the type of guy who could walk into a restaurant, bully a waiter just because he liked teasing people, but by the end of it, the waiter at the end of the night would be his best friend. That's the type of person he was. So I guess I have a little bit of that. But my mum, she's always been a little bit more reserved, I guess, so I have a slight reservation in a sense, in another sense, but I've learnt a lot from him. So yeah.
What about your job? What do you see? What the thing that is best, or maybe anything worse? Is there a worst about your job?
I think the worst thing for any business-minded person or anyone running their own business is admin. Having to deal with financial admin when you're not an accountant is always a pain. The best thing about my job is that I can make my own decisions and do what I want. And there's no one telling me what to do, really. Customers, I guess we follow the very traditional mentality that customers are always right. So we are dictated in a certain way by what the customer wants, but outside of that, we're always trying to work out what they want. And I think for me, the most interesting thing is the versatility of the job. There's so many different parts to the job. I'm not just standing in a class cooking and teaching. Actually, as teachers, we don't cook that much. We talk a lot and we work out how to explain things, because the whole point about someone learning is that they do it themselves. So I really enjoy that aspect of watching someone, even over a 1 or 2 or 3 hour period, pick up something that they've never been able to do before. I really enjoy that. I think that's one of the best parts of any teacher's job. On the business side, I really enjoy the big game of how you can actually make money. Because it's not as easy as everyone thinks. Everyone's got their bills to pay, and you need to continuously work out new ways of bringing more customers in and making money. And both sides of the job interest me.
I think your work is very challenging and also is it like quite an achievement. What is your attitude or philosophy of your work?
Philosophy, well, I've got a new philosophy. That is, I guess it's a New Year's resolution. That is that if someone asks me to do something, I do it straight away. And if it's not done straight away, it has to go on a list and it has to be done in that week, right? I mean, it can't always be the case, but I think that A is very proactive, and that proactive behaviour then leads on to many other things. So the second thing is, never really being scared to ask something. If you don't ask, you don't get. And I know sometimes I can ask something of, say, a big company, and it may be a little bit cheeky, but you've got to be cheeky to get somewhere. But the other thing, the main thing is always keeping in mind how you can benefit someone else. So at the beginning of the business, I made a big point out of trying to build up a relationship with suppliers, so like your seafood and fish, or your meat, or your veg. I've got very good friends in different parts of the industry now. Whether we use them as suppliers or not, they're always good contacts to have. And the way that I guess I built those friendships up was always before thinking about how they can benefit me or School of Wok, thinking about how we can benefit them, whether it's short term or in the long run. So if I feel like AEG, for example, are our biggest sponsors at the moment, and the key factor for them is that we, sitting in central London, having hundreds of people walk into our cookery school, using their appliances, that's a huge marketing benefit for them. So the attitude is, if you can help someone else out, they should be able to help you out in return. That's my attitude to my job. And doing it in a relaxed and human way. If I spent 6 months in Samsung, which I won't talk too much about, but essentially, in short, it was a very difficult company to work with. And the reason being is that they were almost robotic, not human. And everything there is about hierarchy, whereas the way we run things here, yes, you need certain levels so people have responsibilities, but the attitude is, if we can discuss things and enjoy doing it at the same time, then we're going to get a lot more out of it. And that's how we work with all these companies, or even down to small scale and just our customers in general. So.
I'd like to ask you about where did this the attitude about work come from?
I guess my attitude towards my work, it's come from my parents' teaching, really. My mother was very strict when I was younger, for good reason. My father was a lot more. Well, he was a businessman, and I learned a lot from him. I think it's all down to, I guess, learning from other people, watching people in my old jobs, as to whether they were good or bad, you can learn something from. So really bad managers, I've had many of them in the past, and learned a lot from them, because I find that the more humane you are, the more approachable you are, the more you're going to get something out of someone else. So the attitude towards work and working with people, that's where it's come from. From the, I guess, relaxed yet professional attitude, that's just down to my personal preference, really. So some people work really well under a lot of stress and pressure. I do get a lot of pressure, but I know that if I just take a breather, take a step back, I'm always going to be able to do it better than if I was really sort of in it and too stressed. Yeah. So that's where it I guess evolved.
You have an ideal chef?
My favourite chef, celebrity chef. I think this is how, if we're talking celebrity chef, I just think anything on TV is about entertainment. So, I mean, Keith Floyd, he's passed away now, but I thought he was very entertaining. Maybe because he was drinking a lot, but but he I thought his food was very rustic, and he just kind of threw things in, and it was all about taste rather than too many, clean-cut recipes. But if you're talking about, chefs in the industry, I have got a mentor myself, Chef Lee. He used to be he used to be the head chef of Hakkasan, and he actually teaches me quite a lot. So as and when I'm free, he helps me out, and I still learn as much as possible. And then inspiration, really, my father, although he was a pharmacist or pharmaceutical engineer, when he went, his family, they were always very much cuisine chefs, and he was an amazing cook. I learned a lot about taste and food from him. My mother, her side, my mum's always thought food was more of a chore, or cooking was more of a chore. But her side of the family are actually classically they're Chinese bakers, so they have a lot of influence in food on that side as well. So my grandfather, he owned the Chinese bakery in the 60s in Chinatown, Kowloon Bay, yeah. So that was, he used to run that in the 60s, and now my uncle still runs a Chinese bakery up in Manchester, so Ho's Bakery up in Manchester. Well, the oldest son in my mum's side, he ran a Chinese bakery down here called Ho's Bakehouse for quite a few years in London as well. But he's retired from the trade now, so...
You mentioned before that you're now married. You have any children, and how you... What's it separate your work life and your family life?
I don't have any kids yet. It's not the time for it. But maybe in a few years when I can afford it. But it's always tough, I think, as an entrepreneur running a business and enjoying time outside of work, because you could be working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But I've made a really big point about trying to separate it. And not just in a physical sense, but from a time sense. So if a social commitment comes up, if I'm free, I say yes. And unless there's a real important reason why I need to be in here or doing something for the business, then I won't change that. But sometimes you have to compromise. So, my wife is incredibly good at compromising, and she's very good at keeping that balance, but letting me know if I'm not spending enough time with her. And that's important, because if I don't have that, then I could just work all my life. And work-life balance is, I think, just as beneficial to the business in the long run, because if you're relaxed and realize why you're working so hard, then the business really in the long run can grow in a more organic and relaxed manner. If you're always thinking about business and there's too much in your mind, then actually I think if people become too stressed, then the business will suffer from it.
What do you do for your recreation?
Many things. I do quite a lot of exercise now. I haven't always. It's kind of like this with exercise. So I've started playing a game called korfball, which is a Dutch game. I used to, when I was a younger, play a lot of basketball, but this game's kind of in between basketball and netball. So that's good for getting a bit of adrenaline out of me. I spend time with the family, my friends. Sometimes we go out for dinner, or and just go for a couple of pints down the pub. But I'm trying to save money at the moment, so going to people's homes and eating at friends' houses is always nice, because it's nice to be cooked for when you're a chef. Even though people say that, I don't want to cook for you because you know exactly what we're doing, or you're too used to very good food. Actually, to be honest, even if someone cooked me beans on toast or a chicken Kiev, I'd be happy. So, and it's just really spending time with my loved ones. So I really make a point of spending a lot of time with my wife, especially we just got married, but really because I enjoy spending time with her. So we go for we do exercise, or we go shopping, or just do the usual things really. But we have a big interest in travelling, so as much as possible we'll travel somewhere. We'll go away for, even if it's just a week. Camping, we'll go camping, you know. It just makes it life more interesting.
How do you see your school developing in the future? School of Wok?
I guess it's always difficult to say exactly what's going to happen in 5 years, but we need to have plans. The plans at the moment are that corporate events are a big part of the business, so we want to bring more and more big groups in. It's a very good way to sort of stabilise the business. We really want to grow the walk-in lessons, so I'd like to say that in 3 or 4 years' time, this place is pretty much fully booked. So we have the capacity to run maybe 6 classes a day. We'll be very happy if that happens in 3 to 5 years. And then on the side, actually, I'm getting a lot more sort of profile building and media jobs. I really enjoy that. It's a little bit fickle, but I do enjoy working with film companies and just, I guess, showing the masses how easy it is if you know how. So I quite enjoy that. I wouldn't want to do it full time. I really like the business to be balanced. That's the idea. So every part of the business, whether it's corporate events, media, walk-in lessons, or consultancy, so long as there's a balance in the next 4 or 5 years, then I think it's a success. Yeah, but it has to make enough money to pay us. Yeah.
What place do you think enterprise like yours will have in the future?
I have full belief that School of Wok as a brand could be a big brand or home brand of London. If we do really well here, there may be possibilities that we can go more international and go out to the US, to New York or something like that. But I'd rather, to be honest, we don't want to put too much pressure on ourselves. We're working very closely with a lot of big brands like Cathay Pacific, Hong Kong Tourism Board, AEG and Symphony Kitchens. They're all much bigger than we are. So I'd like to think that we can almost be on par with some of the big brands of the country. So yeah, I think we have the ability to do it. The logo and the brand itself were designed by a very good friend of mine, Freya, she's just started her own thing as well. I think if we can grow it from this logo and name, and we as chefs and the service we provide continues the same, I think we have the ability to be well known. Yeah.
Would you like to have anything to add?
No, I mean, other than for me in the catering industry, especially as I know you guys are really looking at the sort of cultural history behind it, I feel like people our generation are almost a little bit scared off by the industry itself. Maybe it's down to our parents or grandparents being in the trade for quite a long time and seeing how hard they have to work. It's true you have to work really hard, but if you have a zest or passion for it, it can be a really enjoyable industry to work in. I think that, I'd love to see Chinatown change more over the next few years and be taken over by the younger generation who have maybe a little bit more of a modern mentality towards business. So, and hopefully things will, the food and cuisine itself will really improve in the long run. That's it, really. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Ming-Ai.
No problem. No problem.